Hi everybody. I wanted to remind you to reach out to me about the Unit 3 meeting. I sent an email last week asking you to send me an email about your plans and kind of the way things are looking. But if you want those points, make sure that you reach out. This week we will be looking at factoring in more detail. So at this point you've looked at how to pull the common factor out and how to factor a four-term polynomial. And now this week, you'll look at factoring trinomials and binomials. Okay, binomials factor by formula. You will need to know those formulas, and they are important. I was working in the math lab this week with a student who is in pre-calculus and was struggling with factoring binomials. It does not go away. Factoring trinomials, again, really important. Really what you're going to find is that if you understand how to factor, then the rest of the semester is okay. If you struggle with factoring, you're going to find that the last unit of this course becomes almost impossible because every single problem requires factoring. One thing to remember, factoring is a guessing game. You will never know whether your factorizations are correct or not if you don't go back and check them. So make sure you take the time to check them. The last bit of this week is a general strategy for factoring that kind of goes through how you actually factor any polynomial when you look at it. And so what I've done is laid out what I consider to be the four-step process for factoring. And you essentially, every time you factor, if you start with a common, pulling out a common factor if it's there, and then count your number of terms. Two-term polynomials factor by formula, so you'll need to know those formulas. Three-term polynomials, you can either use trial and error or something called the AC method that you'll look at this week, where you're going to use factoring by grouping. And then four-term polynomials factor by grouping. Then ask yourself whether you've completely factored it. It's possible that you factored and created a difference of perfect squares that you would need to factor further, or that you missed a GCF from earlier in the process. And then go back and check your work. Okay, so this general strategy for factoring is something that you need to know. There's a video here that kind of walks you through that. And then this is a skill. And like any skill, the more you do it, the better you get at it. So I gave you, looks like 14 different polynomials to factor here. And then walked you through the process of factoring those polynomials. Okay, we will continue to factor for the rest of the semester. So take the time to figure it out. If you need help, let me know.